Events in life are what take place, good or bad, short or long, impacting or not impacting. Life is an event, and so death can be a very great motivator. If you can see that life is just an event, then you will take advantage of it. However, life should not just be an event that simply happens and nothing more. It must be a celebration of an experience. Mr. Jim Rohn, the legend in business philosophies in the United States, says to not just get through the day, but to get something out of the day. In other words, life should not just be the occurrence of an event or a happening, but it should be a learning experience out of what happens. An example of this is when you are watching a good movie where there is intense excitement. You, as the watcher, experiences the excitement in watching out of the story in which people in the film are experiencing. Life is not just about excitement, but it is about experience. Are you experiencing life, or are you just simply existing? Are you just a watcher and a spectator? Or are you a player in the events that take place in your life every day? Or are you just somebody who lets events happen without you being able to manipulate a personal change to benefit yourself and your loved ones? In the law of mobility in the world, you and I see and get involved in constant grinding of motions of events that affect all of us, whether we like it or not. The religious people, especially the so-called Christians, seem to hail the saying in the scriptures which declare that in the last days knowledge shall be abundant. Seeing that in today's flow of events all kinds of knowledge is here, they harp by saying that the scriptures are finally fulfilled and that therefore we are now in the last days. Out of ignorance, people become stupid. Of course, knowledge should increase. What do you want? Should knowledge decrease? The flow of events only leads to more knowledge. People knowing more and more from what is happening will discover that indeed there are more things to know about life. So I teach people to not be caught in the guise of religion, because religion is never progressive. Life is progressive. Religion is stuck up. Don't be trapped by religion. Learn more about life instead. The flow of events is resultant in nature. Whatever happens may be without a purpose, contrary to the belief that all things happen for a purpose, is resultant to something else. You and I should avoid getting trapped in the attitude of blaming people, things, and events for the negative things that occurred in our lives. The truth of the matter is, when you get into a problem, it is not a thing that simply happens just because the problem just wants to happen to you, or because God wants you to have a problem. A problem occurred because of a simple fact that you have not been in control, that you have not been knowledgeable enough, and that you have not been able to see properly what was going to come. Things and events take place whether you want it or not. You and I should be more wise. In the world, if you know better, you will fare better. Knowledge will always give you an edge in life to know what to do and what is not to do, and to know when to do and when not to do, to realize when not to speak and when to speak, and so on and so forth. In other words, if you are an ignorant man, you will constantly stay in darkness. People who open themselves out to learning get into the light of much understanding. To live, you cannot not know. It is imperative that you and I must get into learning. Knowing leads to learning, and vice versa. John Maxwell declares in his seminars that you and I should make sure that after we have known, we must also have learned. Life is indeed about knowledge of good and evil. And to fare better, you and I should learn more and more and more. There should be no end to learning. Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of health. Learning is the beginning of spirituality. Man must not have any problem. God did not put you in the world so that you will be plagued with problems. If you are a normal human being, God has endowed you with complete capacities of existing a life that should be without problems until the time that you have to die in old age. The key is in the knowing. The key is in the awareness, consciousness factor. We get into problems because we do not know that what we are getting into is a problem. In other words, we are simply slow in our understanding. When we fail to see what is coming, we get hit with it, and before we know it, we have been knocked down by it. That's why training is a must. If you want to fare better in whatever involvement you get into, you definitely do not want to get into something that you do not know. The first thing that you do is investigate, and it is not enough that you have investigated. The next thing that you have to do is learn. However, many people are ignorant. They think that they will be okay without training, without development, without information. It is not true. If you are going to a city that you do not know about, what is the first thing that you have to do? Is it not natural for you to inquire about what there is to know about that city? You would ask people who have been there. You would need a book to read, or you will get into something that will tell you about the kind of city that you are getting into. But people in general take life for granted. They think that they do not have to know more about life. They act as if they already know everything. And because of this attitude, they wind up waking into sad realities. Yes, if you will equip yourself with knowledge and proper learning about the grinding motions in the events of life, you shall fare better and come out living a life that is good and successful. The first thing, therefore, is knowledge. There is a Persian proverb that speaks so much truth. He who knows not, he knows not, is a fool. Shun him. He who knows not, he knows not, is a child. Teach him. He who knows not, he knows, is asleep. Wake him. He who knows, he knows, is wise. Follow him. It is absolutely okay to fail, but it is extremely abhorrent to be stupid. My friend Manalumba, the designer of Jollibee food chain, inventor of Chicken Joy, and conceptualizer of Milo, the Olympic energy drink every day, helped me to understand why people are proud and why people are humble. With the illustration of his hands, he demonstrated that proof that proud people or the arrogant are those whose knowledge is very little. Putting his right hand up and his left hand down, he slowly lowered the right hand down and slowly raised the left hand up and declared to me that once a person is up in learning, his pride goes down and his humility goes up. Mr. Jim Rohn declares that it is all right to be proud but not ignorant or arrogant. He goes on to say that there are those arrogant people that you can tolerate because they are well-to-do and famous. But there are the arrogant people that you cannot tolerate. And they are those that are arrogant and ignorant. Pride, of course, has to do with feelings, and humility has to do with the intellect. In life, if you want to build power, you cannot build it on pride or arrogance. If you think you know so much that you cannot pay attention to what people have to say to you, then you are simply a stupid person and an idiot. You build your power on the reservoir of humility. Humility is the only place where success can truly be found. When there is humility, then there is honor. When there is pride, then there is destruction. In life, God gives us the righteousness to do wrong in order to find out what is right. In other words, you have to fail first in order for you to succeed. Not all mistakes are wrong, although all wrong are mistakes. To use a wrong grammar is a mistake, yet it is not wrong. It is okay to speak a wrong grammar if you're still struggling English. But it is wrong to speak a wrong grammar if you are an English teacher, of course. It is a mistake to turn on a one-way street, but it is not wrong when you did not know that it was a one-way street. It is a mistake to miss a tune when singing, but it is not wrong if you're only practicing. In other words, life is fraught with mistakes. Life is wrong. That's why you must constantly make it right. If you think life is right and you do not have to do about it, then you are in for a grand disappointment. Do not aim for perfection in your performance. Rather, aim for a quality performance. Perfection is a nice word to hear, but it just does not exist. Yes, there are perfect moments, there are perfect conditions, but there is not really a perfect time. Perfection is simply a perception. It is good to perceive that life is perfect, but it is disappointing to think that living is perfect. I teach in Jay's lectures to not go in life expecting because you will be disappointed. Rather, go in life working because nobody deserves but the one who works. When you work, you deserve a pay. When you do not work, do not expect a pay. Life is simply about work. When there is work, there is business. No work, no business. Though failure happens, it is something that you don't like to happen. You do a thing for a purpose, and to fail is never one of the purposes. You do not invest in business to fail. That is not the idea. The idea is to succeed. But failure happens, and there is a reason why it does. When it does happen, your option is to learn from it. Do not quit in life simply because you failed. Failure is part of life. Failure makes you more careful the next time around. Failure makes you more wise. Failure makes you more knowledgeable. Just because you get sick means that you do not want to live anymore. Just because you fell down when you rode the bicycle, that you will not ride again. Just because you failed in your love life, that you will not fall in love again. Just because someone hurt you, that you will no longer try to care for someone anymore. Life is about trial and error. This means that you try again and again. And when you make an error, find out why. Failures come in all sizes, degrees, and intensities. Failures range from small to big, from light to moderate to intense, from livable to unlivable, so to speak. That is why the name of the game in life is watchfulness. You cannot be naive. You cannot be stupid. You cannot be ignorant. Demons exist in ignorance, and when there is no more ignorance in you, then there are no more demons in you. It is okay to fail, but it is not okay to be ignorant. Ignorance must be treated as an unhealthy thing that you must get rid of very far away from you. When you say, I don't know, you must think of the implication of what you just said. Instead of saying as a habit, I don't know, you must replace it with, I haven't thought about it yet, or that is interesting to know about, or I will certainly find the truth about it. Do not make a habit of saying, I don't know, because you are breeding an ignorant mind when you say it. It is okay to fail small, but it is not okay to fail big. When you fail small, you have the tendency to just shrug it off. When you fail big, boy, that hurts. Avoid at all costs to fail big time. Succeed big time, but do not fail big time. So it is important that when you invest, try to invest small, especially if you are not knowledgeable about the business. Always start small. Big things come from small things. It is because everything passes through the learning process. You cannot learn big immediately. You learn little by little, and that is always the process. Remember, you cannot harvest right away. Even when you plant rice, you have to wait for 3 months before you can harvest. And when you plant an apple tree, you must wait for several years before you can begin to taste the fruit of your effort. Yes, people who are big time invest big time, and rightfully so. But big players in the market did not become big right away. Every big player in the world had to start small. Life is about gaining or losing, so take note of the events that transpire every day. Ask yourself the question at the end of every transaction, proposal, or negotiation, have I gained out of this or have I lost out of this? The philosophy of gaining and losing should only be applied to your personal self. This means that you should not make somebody lose. Making somebody lose is not good-based but evil-based. When you deal with someone, always aim to make that someone win. Life is not a competition. You do not live to compete. But there is competition in life. And when you compete, do not compete with other people, but compete with yourself. Competing with your own self means that you will make yourself better today than yesterday. You compete with your own performance, not with somebody else's. You compete with your abilities. Do not exist in life to make somebody lose. If you do this, you will wind up to become the big loser. You make others become the big winner, because in so doing, you will wind up becoming the bigger winner. The philosophy of losing and gaining should only be a balance check to yourself. You may rate your performance today to make it better than yesterday. At any given day, stake your claim on that day, and that is to gain ground in life for yourself so that you will muster the events that the world bring to you in order for you to gain more and more. Make this day better for you and for others. When you practice this philosophy, you will find out that life is indeed worth living for. And by the way, you can always make yourself better. There are elements in life, and these are the element of desire, the element of excitement, the element of action, the element of attitude, the element of existence, and the element of life itself. You can literally measure your progress if you will just make yourself become more aware of what is happening. Because life is too precious and short, it is not God's will for you to fail and fail again and again. Neither you would like to fail again and again. Why failure happens is encapsulated in 3 factors. These are ignorance, neglect, and misuse. Of course, there are many more factors, but these 3 are the embodiments of all others. To counter failure is to arrest these 3 factors. If you are not ignorant, if you are diligent and punctual, and if you are disciplined, then chances are the possibility of failure can be eliminated. The number 1 factor for failure is ignorance. Ignorance is the home of all kinds of demons. But the cure of ignorance is simple, and that is knowledge and information. Knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. And when you turn on knowledge, you immediately dissipate darkness. That is why to succeed in life, you cannot take for granted knowledge and learning. Do not depend on your understanding. Understanding is nothing without an object to understand about. Knowledge is only possible when understanding is given an object to tinker with. That is why I encourage people that if they are serious about life and that if they want to succeed in life, they must become consistent in attending Jay's lectures. Because we live on auto-suggestion. To get inspired, you need to hear positive teachings, inspirational lectures. You know, nothing hinders a person who is inspired. What you and I need is inspiration. Inspiration causes transportation, and transportation causes transformation. Do not neglect yourself from getting inspired. Seek first inspiration before you seek knowledge. Knowledge is boring without inspiration. Look for people who inspire you. Run away from people who discourage you. There are people who seem to be good intent, but they are simply a pessimist. Run away from pessimistic people. Pessimism is a big contributor to failure. Seek first to be inspired, and then also seek to inspire other people. The second thing that you have to guard is neglect. Mr. Jim Rohn asked in his seminars, what is worse than in not reading a book in 3 months? The answer is what is worse than in not reading a book in 3 months is to not read a book in 3 months and to think that it doesn't matter. When you say it doesn't matter, then you are a candidate for failure. Yes, it does matter. Everything that you do, everything that you say, everything that you think about does matter. Your parents matter, your spouse matter, your kids matter, your job matters, your behavior matters, your attention or inattention matter. Do not say it doesn't matter. Yes, you cannot neglect to do what you are supposed to do. Neglect is not just a demon. It is the devil that escorts you to failure. The third thing is misuse. It is misuse of funds, misuse of trust of people, misuse of words, misuse of position, or what have you. Any kind of misuse is disgraceful. That is why the counteraction to misuse is properness. and properness simply requires discipline. The key is not righteousness nor goodness. The key is properness, which is almost unheard of. People talk about being good and they hammer for righteousness, yet they hardly mention about properness. The question should not be, is it good? Is it righteous? Rather, the question should be, is it proper? There are people who are righteous but not good. There are people who are good but not righteous. There are people who are good and righteous but are not proper. When you see a strict person, that person is not necessarily good or righteous. That person is not proper. You can be good and righteous but not a bully. You can be good and righteous but still kind. That is why Mr. Jim Rohn declares that you can be proud but not arrogant. You can be kind but not weak. You can be brave but not a bully. You can have humor but not with folly. And you can be humble but not timid. Timidity is a disease. Properness is discipline in excellent nature. The conclusion of all life's endeavors is not failure but success. You do not want to come to the end of your life with a banner on top of your head saying failure. That is not the intention. While to fail is most of the time inevitable, failure is not your goal. Yes, failure will teach you strength and stamina to go on and rectify your mistakes, but failure is so hurting and so costly. The idea in life is not to fail. There is no honor in failure. No one has a tombstone that declares the man is a failure in life. Or what I mean is no one has a tombstone that declares the man is a failure in life. No one wants to marry a failure. No one wants to go in business with a failure. To fail is not what you want. And you do not need to experience failure if you know how. The quest, therefore, is not to go in life and expect anything. The quest must go on in life with proper information how not to fail but to succeed. The first kind of education that you need to have in living a good life, let alone success, is your acquiring of proper philosophies. When people hear about philosophy, they immediately get to mind about people in the academe or about Plato, Socrates, or Confucius. This shows how ignorant many people are. When people talk, hardly they say the word philosophy. In fact, they frown on the word philosophy, thinking that it is about being a smart aleck, or thinking that you are the person who knows how to hurl powerful insults. The mistake on this are huge. Philosophy is your personal outlook of yourself and of people and of the world in general. In other words, your philosophy is your own reasons, your own perceptions and understanding, and your own embodiment of all your behavior. There are three outstanding objects in the world, and these are truths and facts, principles, and personal philosophy. Of the three, the most important is personal philosophy. Truths and facts are variables. While they are very important, you cannot embank your confidence on facts and truths. It is because what was a fact then may not be true anymore today. Principles, on the other hand, are lasting, since it goes with nature. There are two kinds of principles, and these are the generalized and the specific. But your personal philosophy is what matters most, because it is what makes you traverse over facts and principles. Principles control you, but what you control is your personal philosophies, since it is your personal perception, beliefs, understanding that you will do every day. In fact, people violate principles because of their philosophy in life. There is a good personal philosophy and there is a bad personal philosophy. But it is always that philosophy that will bring a person to the future. Life is not an accident. Life is always causative, a resultant in nature. Whatever you do, you will get affected by it, whether good or evil. The second most important thing that will make your life worth living for is what I teach as the three cyclical interchangeables. These are thought, word, and action. When you are being, or when you begin to become wise enough, You will now begin to arrest your thoughts and order them in such a way that you will give you the proper words and cause you to act the proper action. Wrong thought, wrong results. Wrong words, wrong reaction. Wrong action, catastrophic result. People will tend to think that thought, word, action are so burdensome to be tasked about. So they think that it is not necessary to do. Life, however, offers itself to the more diligent individuals. Success is not an accident. It is a product of your choice. Wealth and good health does not happen to people by chance. If we want to be healthy and wealthy, we need to get into the rigors of proper actions. The three interchangeables must be attended to if you are a serious life customer. Remember, it is not how life treats you, but it is on how you treat life. Life gives you back what you put in. There are people that simply die on the wayside, so to speak. But if you are a serious taker of things, you must pay attention to your thoughts, to your words, and to your actions. The philosophy is to operate on calculated words and measured emotion. The third great lesson is that life is good-based, not evil-based. It is also present-based and development-based. Never base your existence on the Bible. Life is not Bible-based. That is very far from the truth. Do not let preachers fool you. Pastors will have the tendency to broker you to God instead of brokering you to life. God does not need to be flattered. Plus, you have to know and recognize the fact that God is not religious. Do not think that God is like you. God is the owner of the universe. And incidentally, He has appointed you as the Lord over God's creation. God is not the deliverer, as some religious people would think. Man is the deliverer. And the reason why the world is full of chaos is because the people have become religious. We must study life rather than study religion. It is a wrong understanding to think that to be religious is to know about life. There is no life in religion. Religion is a trap. Life is in the world, not in the church. Lastly, but not the last, nor the least, you must conquer fear. Fear is a demon that destroys people. Fear never makes a person good. Fear always leads to breakdown of the system. In life, you cannot be afraid. Les Brown, one of the world's greatest motivators, had said, "Fear death if you must, but never fear life." One of the greatest damaging fears is the fear that religious or religions sow in their followers. I call this the reverential fear. Reverential fear is a fear that is attached to God. Reverential fear is different from reverence of God. Reverential fear becomes a bondage because people would fear that God will send them to hell, or that God would punish them if they fail in life, or if they sin. Reverential fear is the greatest bondage in the world. It causes religious people to strap their body with bombs and explode themselves to kill many others. I suggest to my students in Jay's lectures to never be caught in the trap of religion. The sure path to success. What is your reason for living? You and I must know our reason for all our actions, for all our ambitions, for all our dreams. Chris Widener, one of the greatest motivators in the world, tells his audience about how big is their whys. When you ask the question why, you are not looking for an answer, but for a reason. When you begin to know our reason, then all the answers that we look for in the world will be answered. Know your reasons first, and then you will find all the answers. If a person is looking for an answer, he will not find it if he doesn't know of his reasons first, why he wants the answer. It is not the answer that people are looking for in the world. Rather, it is the reason. Reason is the strongest determinant factor for change. A person will not just change for no reason, and a reason is the strongest tool of choice. When a person chooses something, he or she is motivated by a reason. It is time that you should know your reasons. It is time that you should understand about what life is all about. Why are you doing things now? What is your why? And how strong is your why? The answer to finding your true reason is learning. Never think in your life that you know everything there is to know in the world. Knowledge rides in the tides of times because the world continues to spew out its events and nature continually grinds its motions of change. You and I must continue to adapt knowledge. Life consistently adapts to change, but if you and I cannot change into adaptability, then we will be missing what life wants us to experience. If you are serious about maximizing your life's existence, you should focus on learning what there is to be learned about. And I don't think there are many programs in the world that offer knowledge of details of existence like the Jay's lectures. Jay's instructions stand very differently among others. We teach not religion, but we teach about life. When you become a student of Jay's consistently in the period of 3 years, you will come out in your life in the world to become one of the best rulers there is in your lifetime. And that is a guarantee. Jay's lectures are copyrighted materials. If you want to use our modules, kindly get permission from our office at Asia Pacific Achievements, U3, 1 San Miguel Building, San Miguel Avenue, Corner Show Boulevard, Ortega Center, Pasig City, in Metro Manila, in the Philippines. And thank you so much. This is Dr. John Ayutud. You may send your email to me at drjohnayutud@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.